Very interesting. And if you wouldn't mind telling us, just where is it that you come from, and how is it that you got these various distinctions which set you apart from the other blood cells gathered here?
Red blood cells form when erythropoietin, a hormone from the kidneys, is released because of hypoxia of tissues not getting enough oxygen. This causes the bone marrow cells then to become the precursors to red blood cells. Along the way, nuclei are ejected, and this forms a cell known as a reticulocyte. Reticulocytes still have a little bit of their RER and ribosomes. These reticulocytes will then mature to make the final erythrocytes, which enter circulation.
I come from the bone marrow, see? But I'm not quite done when I leave. You see, a number of parts inside the cell are still breaking down. The RER is gone, but over time the nucleolus will degenerate, the mitochondria and ribosomes break down, and so a number of changes are going on while I'm going through circulation and then even as I enter the tissues. Not surprisingly, I begin life in the bone marrow. I maybe spend a day or so in the circulation before leaving and living in tissues for about a week. My activity, such as whether or not I release these granules, often depends on my interactions with other white blood cells, and I can affect their activity as well. Well, my cousin the mast cell and I differ in where we mature. I mature in the bone marrow, and thus I am a blood cell. The mast cells leave the bone marrow in an immature state, and they mature elsewhere in the body, such as connective tissues. I'm made in the red bone marrow, obviously, and from there I travel through the blood. About half of all monocytes end up in the spleen. Now, from there it can get a little tricky because when monocytes leave the blood, they can be fixed monocytes which stay in one place or wandering monocytes, and they can become converted to other classes and called macrophages or dendritic cells or Langerhans cells. These are macrophages which have changed after they have exited the blood. When I'm first made in the bone marrow, I'm not quite done, and different types of lymphocyte then finish their development in different parts of the body. The bone marrow or the thymus, or maybe even another area such as the spleen. And so lymphocytes have to mature before they can perform their complex functions.
Well, I start in the bone marrow, and a huge cell called a metamegakaryocyte, which has lots and lots of copies of each chromosome. It's a huge bone marrow cell. It then splits into 1,000 or 1,500 pieces. Each one of these pieces is a platelet. It's just essentially a fragment of this huge cell with vesicles of clotting factors inside.